Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, and today we're getting the first in, well, it's going to be a pretty busy week for World of Warships as I give away prizes to people who submitted entries for the World of Warships official release replay contest. Now, I did appreciate from looking at the kind of entries that were submitted that it was really heavily going to favour, because it was a pure damage done contest, so it was heavily going to favour guys in the higher tiers, and yeah, that isn't particularly fair. Now, I can't go ahead and change the rules of the contest after the contest has ended. That wouldn't be fair to the people who entered. So, the premium ships that Wargaming have donated to the contest winners are still going to be awarded to people who do the most damage in one of four categories: Destroyer, Cruiser, Carrier and Battleship, as well as the wildcard ticket, which basically goes to the game that I liked the most. However, while I can't mess around with the rules that were stated in the replay contest video before the contest actually started, I can add extra prizes to give away at my own discretion, so that's pretty much exactly what I've done. So all of you guys who sent in some incredible replays in your Omahas and your Phoenixes and your Fusos, your Nagatos, your Amagis, your Isakazis, and knew that you didn't stand a hope in hell of meeting the kind of damage totals that people in Midways and Yamatos and Zaos and Montanas and Des Moines were capable of handling out. Don't despair, because there's a whole bunch of prizes available for you guys in each category for the guys that did colossal amounts of damage for the tier of ship that they were in. I've basically dipped my hand in my pocket, and I'm going to be giving away a bunch of prizes from the World of Warships premium shop to you guys as well. Starting with Hunter 410 Ace in the Japanese Minakaza tier 5 destroyer. He's hiding from a pesky enemy cruiser who chased him off as he was trying to capture the Flag C. He is in fact still capturing the Flag C because he's still inside the capture point. Once he's successfully capped, he noses out for a quick look. Very cautious obviously, because he doesn't have an awful lot of backup here. In fact, he has none whatsoever. The cruiser's gone, but there's a very tasty looking enemy Fuso. But note that smoke screen up ahead. He didn't drop that. Guess what's waiting around this corner? Little bit of a brown alert moment here, I'm sure you'll agree. I'm not quite sure who crapped themselves the most, him or all of them. 5 enemy ships, including 2 Fusos, 1 Nicholas, a Cleveland, and the enemy carrier. He's only got 6 torpedoes, he can't possibly sink them all. But he has a damn good try. 6 torpedoes launched, 4 of them actually hit. 2 into the Cleveland, which is good enough to sink him. 1 of them clips the Nicholas, doesn't kill him, and a 4th hits the Fuso. 4 out of 6 isn't bad. The Nicholas has disappeared, of course. He's off like a rat up a drain pipe after eating 1 of those torpedoes. The Fuso is backpedaling furiously. He is actually trying to reverse out of danger. The other Fuso has spotted this tier 5. I mean, it's a Minakaza, you know what the reputation of this thing is like. And he's furiously trying to get an island between himself and Hunter 410 Ace here. The Nicholas has just popped up, very, very low on health after chewing on that torpedo. And the Nicholas, of course, is going to be the big threat here. The thing is, even though the Minakaza now only get 6 torpedoes, and they only have a 7-kilometer range, they do still reload very, very quickly. So he puts 1 set of fish in the water to try to fend off the Nicholas, while he concentrates the remaining 2 launchers on the Fuso. And this is what finishes him off here, because he's so desperate to get the shots off at the Fuso, and he does get the shots off at the Fuso, but he eats a torpedo from the Nicholas, and the Nicholas finishes him off with his guns. He's not done yet, of course, because the Fuso is still trying to reverse out of danger. And yeah, he's going to eat some more torpedoes. It's as inevitable as death and taxes. But what I loved about this replay was the sight of a Nicholas, a Cleveland, and a Fuso all carrying around the corner, looking at each other, saying, well, go on then, go and spot the Minakaza. And all turning around and saying to each other, hell no, you're the curious one, you go first. And so, as a thank you for sending this particular clip in, Hunter 410 Ace is being awarded a Hoist the Flags pack from the premium shop. This is a set of 3 sets of 95 flags, each of which will increase your experience, credit earn, and reduce the repair cost for your ships after you finish playing a battle. So that should keep you busy for a good month or so. Obviously, Hunter didn't do a huge amount of damage in that match, and at the end of the day, this is a damage done contest. As you'd expect, there is more damage available to be done because the ships have more hit points in higher tier games. Nevertheless, I was seeing some spectacularly large amounts of damage done. And the guys in the lower tiers, The sixth highest amount of damage done in a destroyer in this contest was a Tier 4 Isakaze class Japanese destroyer. 187,000 damage done, and that was the sixth highest overall. 5 other players managed to score damage totals in excess of 200,000 while sailing destroyers. Unsurprisingly, 2 of them were in Tier 10s, 2 were in Tier 9s, but 1 of them was in a Tier 5. This is Fat Chance in the ubiquitous Minakaze, which is probably the most popular destroyer in World of Warships. It's been nerfed recently. It doesn't get 10km torpedoes anymore. It's stuck with the, well, one choice of torpedoes, only the stock torpedoes, which have a 7km range, but they are remarkably quick. And the fact that the torpedoes have to be launched from closer range and they're much faster gives whatever you're firing at much less chance of actually getting out of the way, and that's even if they are paying attention in the first place. Of course, it's not that difficult to avoid ship-launched torpedoes if you're paying attention. Air-launched torpedoes, particularly when we see some of the aircraft carrier contest entries, significantly harder to avoid. Your rudder shift time has almost nothing to do with it. Different tactics required in higher tier games, particularly when there are aircraft carriers launching torpedoes at you. Down here in mid-tier games, well, there aren't that many excuses for getting hit by destroyers when they're firing torpedoes, particularly when they're detected. Fat Chance, of course, not detected here. He's staying well out of the way and firing a spread of his 6 torpedoes at the gap between the 2 islands up there. They haven't seen any of the enemy destroyers yet. There's 3 enemy destroyers, and they're going to be your biggest problem at the start of a match. Knowing where the enemy destroyers are going to be so you can plan your moves without being spotted and having all the enemy cruisers shooting at you, and bingo, there's 2 of them right there. Well, knowing where the enemy destroyers are is one of the most dangerous things that you're going to have to worry about at the start of the match. The other most dangerous thing that you're going to have to worry about at the start of the match, particularly if you're in a fast destroyer, is where the rest of your destroyers are. Fat Chance launched his spread of torpedoes quite safely in between those 2 islands. No friendly ships in the way. If only the same could be said for the other destroyers on his team. You really don't want to be that guy in a destroyer at the start of the match who spams his torpedoes everywhere without looking at what's coming and accidentally nails a friendly destroyer, giving 1 kill to the enemy team by default right at the start of the match. He didn't do it on purpose, of course. He's not malicious. He's just a careless noob. So he immediately apologises in chat. The guy he sunk, understandably, a little upset about it. Fat Chance, meanwhile, determined to make a meal out of this Furutaka. Meanwhile, the accidental team killer gets himself nailed by the Nicholas-class destroyer on the enemy team. So good job, thanks for turning up. You've done nothing, and thanks to your carelessness, you've cost your team 2 ships. Fat Chance, anti-aircraft guns, attempting to light. These are a real pain in the arse for destroyer captains. Spotter and fighter aircraft launched from cruisers and battleships. The Furutaka around the corner obviously now knows he's coming, but he's going to have a go anyway. Things start to go a little wrong. He's obviously been spotted. The Furutaka's secondaries open up, but the Furutaka's secondaries are pretty bad. He drops his smoke screen before the Furutaka can bring his turrets around to engage him with his 203mm guns. Ship at the back there, lighten him up. Oh, hang on. Oh, who put that island there? And all of the torpedoes missed because the Furutaka changed its speed as soon as he saw Minakaze less than 3 kilometers away from him. He immediately shuts off his anti-aircraft guns as they light up that spotter aircraft circling overhead, threatening to give his position away, but it's too late. He's been detected. Torpedoes incoming from the Furutaka, relatively easy to avoid at that kind of angle and with that kind of spread. Unfortunately, it's not really the Furutaka's torpedoes that he has to worry about, although the Furutaka definitely has to worry about his torpedoes because he's got them reloaded. Spams a couple of spreads all over the place to try to take into account any manoeuvres the Furutaka might make. Loses the Furutaka in his own smokescreen, frantically looking around trying to figure out who the hell is still spotting him, and he's got him. And there's a chance he might nail that Phoenix as well. No, the Phoenix gets away. Well, I think we can all agree he screwed that one up. Although, if it's stupid but it works, it isn't stupid. And he even says so himself in the email that accompanied the replay, that he really had a serious situational awareness derp out, and at several stages during the course of this game. This isn't the first time he's going to run himself aground while trying to avoid getting shot at. With his anti-aircraft guns now firmly off, although he is still detected, but not anymore because he's not firing his anti-aircraft guns, he closes in on this Nicholas. The guns on the Minakaze, pretty bad, but if they're pointing in the right direction, fire them anyway. But this Nicholas now stands no chance. The Nicholas cannot fire his own torpedoes at that kind of angle, and he wasn't firing his guns. It was an odd choice from the Nicholas. If he turned left, he would have had to worry about one Omaha on about 5,000 health, and he could have killed the Omaha. Of course, the Omaha could have killed him, but instead he made the decision to turn right and instead face off against two full health cruisers and a Minakaze. Didn't work out too well for him, but the choices you make in the heat of the action. And there's that spotter aircraft again. Those things are massively annoying for destroyers. I highly recommend that you use them anytime you think there might be an enemy destroyer around, because this is what keeps spotting him here. The enemy ships can't see him. He's outside of his 6.2 kilometer detection range. He's able to fire torpedoes at them, but he keeps getting lit up by that spotter aircraft. I'm always going on about destroyers who just sail into battle without turning off their anti-aircraft guns first. And most of the time it's good advice, because when you're dealing with an entire squadron of enemy torpedo bombers, dive bombers or fighter aircraft that might detect you, the best way to not be detected by them is to sail in the other direction rather than to sail directly underneath them and blaze away with your anti-aircraft guns. Destroyers generally don't have very good anti-aircraft firepower, but when it's a single spotter aircraft launched from a cruiser or a battleship, they're not that difficult to shoot down, and they're massively annoying, particularly if they've already spotted you anyway. You're really not wasting anything by taking a shot at them and trying to nail them before they can continue to report your position to the rest of the enemy fleet. He gets kind of lucky here again. That Kuma could have totally ended him. The Kuma is a very, very good tier 4 cruiser. It's a very nicely balanced ship. The armor's terrible, of course. It's a light cruiser after all. But the guns are good. It has decent torpedoes. It's fast. It's maneuverable. Did not expect that torpedo to hit him. He was clearly turning in order to... I mean, he left it until he saw the torpedoes in the water. But even if you do wait until the torpedo warning alarm's going off, the Kuma's maneuverable enough that it can usually still avoid all torpedoes fired at you from a destroyer, even if you leave it until the last possible second, the way that guy did. So, Fat Chance got quite lucky, actually, landing a shot on him. Well, there's luck and then there's luck. I mean, he was inside the Kuma's detection range, and yet the Kuma waited until the torpedo warning alarm went off before he started taking evasive action. Despite the fact that he was the one actually detecting Fat Chance's destroyer, the rest of the team were only able to see Fat Chance as he passed between those two islands because the Kuma was the one detecting him, and yet the Kuma was completely oblivious to his presence. As he cleared the second island, he's now outside of detection range. The Kuma couldn't see him, but the Kuma was executing a 180-degree turn. The torpedoes were never going to hit, and by the time he straightened out on a narrow and level course, the island was occluding his shot. So he ignores the Kuma for now. He's going after bigger fish. There's a couple of battleships over here, but first he's going to have to kill this St. Louis. Now the St. Louis is going to see him the second. He's already inside detection range. The second he clears this island, there it is. Remember, Fat Chance is on incredibly low health here. The St. Louis fires very, very quickly, and it has lots and lots and lots of guns. Of course, he has to actually be paying attention to what's going on around him. Fat Chance, not taking any chances, drops a smoke screen and manoeuvres. But the St. Louis, the Congo and the Wyoming are all battering the crap out of a friendly New York-class battleship. And top tip to all St. Louis drivers, it's a lot easier to avoid torpedoes if your ship is moving. So, too late to save the New York, but it's a much, much better situation for Fat Chance. The St. Louis was the single biggest threat to a destroyer on any amount of health. Those things chew destroyers up like you wouldn't believe. But the St. Louis is now dead. Congo over there, they're looking very, very, very tasty. 7-kilometer range on his torpedoes, will be detected at a range of 6.2 kilometers. He's been detected. Luckily, the Congo is paying attention to something else. Unluckily, he's going to do it again. He's going to run into the island. There are torpedoes in the water. The Congo has detected him. The Wyoming is coming around. He's reversing off the rocks. The Wyoming's shooting at him, even if the Congo isn't. Oh, there it is. Luck of the devil. Nuked the Congo. Wyoming tried to punch his ticket. Actually did some damage to him, but nope. Now he is out of line of sight. No longer detected. And that Wyoming's got to be sweating. Oh man, my throat. For those of you, if it isn't immediately obvious, I'm suffering from a nasty case of the dreaded man flu. Talking is really, really painful at the moment. Not as painful as, well, let's see what this Wyoming... I mean, the Wyoming knows there is a destroyer here. He's just shot at him. So let's see what this Wyoming does, knowing that he's next on the menu. Fat Chance looking around. He's actually paying attention himself now. He's being very, very extraordinarily careful to ensure that he doesn't accidentally stray within anybody's detection range. He can't afford to keep making screw-ups like he has so far. He's gotten away with it so far down to blind luck on his behalf and stupidity on the enemy team's behalf, but blind luck and stupidity will only take you so far. Now, where's that Wyoming? Oh, there he is. And, oh, well played by the Wyoming. All but one of those torpedoes missed. And you kind of expect that, because the Wyoming was the guy who was actually, well, one of the few members of the enemy team who's ever bothered to fire at Fat Chance throughout the course of this entire match. Now, of course, he's still outside, and Fat Chance is slowing his speed down, giving him a chance to reload, turn around, without crossing inside detection range, and get a second salvo of torpedoes off against this guy. The Wyoming can't see Fat Chance, but he can see a friendly Myogi-class battleship on Fat Chance's team, and so he's turned his guns and he's focusing all of his attention on that guy there. The scores are even at the moment. I mean, both teams have 3 ships left, but look at the amount of health remaining on those ships, although the Wyoming's about to have significantly less health, but he started off in a pretty strong position. And then he ate a bunch of torpedoes, but look at the amount of health remaining on that Myogi there. And look at the amount of health on the enemy battleship off up in the distance. He's practically untouched. So while Fat Chance's team theoretically have the numbers advantage, they don't have 10,000 health between the 3 of them. And the 2 remaining enemy battleships are both on near as damn it full health. So under these kind of circumstances, it's only a matter of time, really, before the scores go from 3-2 to 2-2, and then very, very shortly, 2-1. And Fat Chance is the last ship surviving on his team. So come on, Mr. World of Warships announcer, state the obvious for us.
Our team depends upon you.
So, it's not actually... I mean, it's going to be a challenge, but at the end of the day, he's in a Minakaza-class destroyer, and these guys are in big, dumb, stupid battleships. As long as he stays further than 6.2 kilometers away from these guys, he is entirely capable of killing both of them. I said as long... Oh, wait, it's the spotter aircraft again. I did say these things were a huge pain in the ass. Drops the smoke. Yeah, here it comes. Starts doing the hippie hippie shake and gets the hell out of there. Of course, he's been detected, so the Congo is going to turn and he's going to avoid every single one of those torpedoes. So he can't cap because, well, there's a Congo in the enemy flag. And very soon there's going to be a Myogi in his flag. And that's when the enemy Congo sails right into 3 of his torpedoes, giving him the Confederate Award. Seriously, did you not hear me just say, he's detected, the Congo has seen him, we know the Congo saw him because he shot at him. And yet the Congo still sails into 3 of his 6 torpedoes. I realise that I do have something of a reputation for giving battleship drivers a hard time in World of Warships. I'm trying to get you back lately, I really am. But you're not making it easy for me, are you? Doing dumb shit like that. Anyway, Fat Chance is certainly not going to turn his nose up at the opportunity to do 3 torpedoes worth of damage to a Congo, but now he's got Myogi problems. This guy is sailing straight into his flag. Meanwhile, if Fat Chance isn't careful, he's going to sail within detection range of this Myogi. And there it is. So, this is really... It's little mistakes like this that are going to cost Fat Chance the game. if he'd slowed down, as he demonstrated earlier, he's perfectly capable of doing, not just his course but also his speed to stay outside of detection range of these ships. He could have launched all 6 of those torpedoes at the Miyogi from outside of detection range, and the Miyogi would not have known they were there until the torpedo warning alarm went off. But instead he advertised his position, and yet he's... Oh, seriously, are the battleship drivers in World of Warships in low-tier games just conspiring to make themselves look like absolute idiots? Or is it just me? I'm doing the best I can. I really am. I'm desperately trying to be even-handed here. And I mean, I'm even pointing out the mistakes that the destroyer is making. And the battleships still sail into all of their torpedoes. I'm sitting here trying to say, imagine the kind of game Fat Chance could have had. I mean, he has a spectacular result. But imagine the kind of game he could have had if he hadn't made so many mistakes throughout the course of this match. But it doesn't seem to have made any difference, does it? It doesn't matter how big a mistake Fat Chance makes. There's always somebody in a battleship on the enemy team who's making an even bigger one. Anyway, he's got to finish off this Miyogi. Despite eating a couple of torpedoes from him, he's still capping. And there is not an awful lot of time left. Fat Chance is going to run out of time before he runs out of health, and he doesn't have a lot of health left. The Miyogi appears to be doing the smart thing. He's keeping that island between himself and Fat Chance's ship, and if he has any sense whatsoever, he's now pulling a hard turn to the left and he's steaming directly away from Fat Chance's Minakaza. What Fat Chance wants the Miyogi to do is to continue steaming around this island, closing the range on him so that the torpedoes can't possibly miss. And of course, that's exactly what the Miyogi has done. Yeah, it's not making it difficult, are they? I mean, you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Is he even turning? He is turning. He waited until he saw the torpedoes in the water, and only then did he try to swing the ship around and avoid the certain death that was sailing towards him at something like 68 bloody knots, or however fast the torpedoes on the Minakaze are. Yeah. Now, with just over 2 minutes of this game left, he has to nail this Congo in order to avoid a draw. And he can easily do it, as long as he stays outside of the magic 6.2 kilometre range at which the Congo is going to detect him. And so he sails inside the 6.2 kilometre range at which the Congo is going to detect him. He gets his torpedoes away, but he's been spotted. The Congo is obviously looking for him. He turns, starts doing the hippie hippie shake. He's got no smoke generators left. Here comes the shots, any one of which can kill him on this kind of low health. The Congo doesn't do an awful lot of turning, however, and he very nearly gets him. But he increased speed, so only one of those torpedoes hits. And Fat Chance was so busy trying to avoid the shots from the Congo and trying to turn around in order to get because his torpedoes are almost reloaded, he runs the ship aground, but he's outside of detection range and still inside torpedo range. The torpedoes are reloaded, he fires them all off. This is his best real chance for actually winning this game right now. But as he's reversing off the rocks, he sails back inside the 6.2 kilometre range at which the Congo is going to detect him. Congo's seen him again. And battleship, and cruiser drivers for that matter, pay attention to this Congo. Observe just how little of a course change this guy is making, and yet he manages to avoid every single torpedo fired at him. Providing you don't wait until you see the torpedoes in the water at these kind of ranges, 7 kilometres, it is so incredibly easy to avoid torpedoes fired at you from destroyers. It really isn't hard. Well, anyway, Fat Chance blew this one, I'm afraid. This ends up being a draw. There just isn't enough time left for him to get around this island and get some more torpedoes into that Congo without being detected. He freely admits in the email that he sent accompanying the replay and the screenshots of the post-battle results that he knows he screwed up several times throughout the course of this game, and he didn't expect it to win a prize. But he sent it in anyway, hoping to win in the wildcard category, and he's going to win a prize anyway, because wait until you see how much damage he did. And bear in mind, this is only a tier 5 game, where the amount of health available for you to take from the enemy team is strictly limited. Almost 400,000 credits, 5 medals, 1700, nearly 1800 base experience, just a fraction short of double the base experience without modifiers of the next best player on both teams combined. How much damage did he do in a tier 5 match? 205,000. Wow. And he could have had more if he hadn't made a couple of silly mistakes. Straying back inside detection range of these battleships when he didn't need to. He could have won that match and done even more damage. But it was not to be. And also bear in mind that this was the 6th highest amount of damage scored by anybody in a destroyer in the entire replay contest. Everybody else who scored more damage than him was either in a tier 9 or 10 destroyer. So for that and for that alone, he's definitely going to get a prize. Enjoy your 3,000 gold doubloons. Fat Chance, by the way, plays on the North American server, and the prizes available to gift somebody in the North American gift shop are different. So if you get featured and you play on the North American server, it's 3,000 gold doubloons, because that's what they sell in the North American gift shop. If you're unfortunate enough to win a runner-up prize and you're on the EU gift shop, it's only 2,500 gold doubloons, because those are the only choices available. Sorry about that. Blame Wargaming, not me. Anyway, those are some of the runners-up in the destroyer category of the replay contest. From here on in, it's some seriously big damage numbers, and it's all tier 9 and 10 ships, and we're going to show you the winner tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you'll join me for tomorrow's. In the meantime, take care, and I'll catch you next time.